Namaste, everyone. Many of you know there's a book of compilation of talks by Krishnaji titled Flight of the Eagle. Perhaps it has a lot of significance, but what comes to my mind is it represents a certain image-free consciousness. And image-free consciousness represents a state of freedom from the past and in a protracted way, freedom from future too. In lot of philosophical circles, the topic living in the present is very popular. However, not many know what goes into living in the present. Many people think it is a matter of resolving. Here onward, I am going to live in the present. I will not allow thoughts of the past to come and disturb me. Like that, they think it is by resolving. Alas, as Krishnaji said, where there is will, there is ignorance. This will, this resolve, deciding, which the conscious mind does, has terrible limitations. Many a time it's a reaction, which means it has no understanding. It is motivated by some particular goal, particular desire. A student wants to stand first in the upcoming examinations and he resolves, I'm going to study hard from tomorrow. But he doesn't love the subject that he has to study. So when there is no love for the subject that he has to study, he decides to study hard. It's a painful situation. All through our life, we decide, I'm going to be free tomorrow onwards. I'm going to control anger. I'm going to behave rightly. I'm going to get up early. 100 resolutions we make and they all vanish after a little while. But the world runs on will and resolving. What I mean is a lot of so-called motivational workshops begin with saying, with promising, you can shape your future. Attend this workshop. We will tell you 3 ways to become a better whatever. So let me come back. Living in the present is when there is that flame of attention and one sees the falsity, the vanity, and number of other conditionings that make us go again and again into the past. If there is seeing of the falsity of those images of the past, the images vanish. They leave the space in a natural way. Just as if you have carefully saved and protected some medicine which is expensive, and one day you see in your shelf, you see that that medicine which you protected expired long back, and it's dangerous now to take that medicine. Its expiry date was last year. Then you have no difficulty in throwing it away. The medicine which has expired is no more a prized possession. But if the medicine is valid for another 6 months, you tell the family members, don't by mistake throw it away. It's so expensive, I need it. That is so about memories. I remember how I was insulted in 2014. People threw rotten eggs at me, let us say. There is a tendency to relive that past. I go back to 2014. I remember the scenarios. I once more experience pain at being rejected, being attacked. However, in attention, I see this is, after all, an image. Nobody is throwing a rotten egg at me at this moment. I also see those who threw rotten eggs at me were conditioned in certain way. They expressed their confusion by throwing rotten eggs at me. I also see how proud I was those days, how attached to my image I was, how it meant a lot for me to be popular. This seeking popularity, this desiring name and fame, I am able to see as something utterly unnecessary. To be happy, to live in a sensible manner, do we have to be popular? Do we have to be famous? Do we need millions and billions of money? Many of the things which keep us anxious and worried and desolate are utterly not necessary. We need some money, no doubt. We need a few friends who love us. We need some friends whom we love. But a whole lot of desire, ambition, etc. are nothing but foolishness. Even if you rise to heights of fame, name, popularity, when you die, within a couple of years, the whole world will forget you. I guess there was a poem in English literature. If I remember right, it was some king called Ozymandias or somebody. Some people were traveling by a desert. It is sand, sand, and sand in all directions. But suddenly their eyes fall upon something which was popping out of the sand, and they see, oh, some kind of part of a statue. They dig a little and they get the whole statue. And along with the statue, there is also a plaque. And they read what is written on the plaque. And on the plaque is written in that poem, here stands King so and so, the mightiest of all, the most well known winner, victorious guy. And they look at each other. Who is this king? We never heard of him. But with his statue, with that idol, something such glorious is written. Here stands the king. No king there. Nobody knows about him. But at his time, maybe he was so attached to his image. See, image. Maybe in his lifetime itself that statue was made. And those words were written. Here stands King so and so. So great, all time great, blah blah. Now nobody knows about it. Will you and I be any exception to it? Even if we win the Nobel Prize, even if we get the Olympic gold medal, even if our books sell in millions, even if we get Booker Prize or whatnot. So we are not being pessimistic or negative. Please do not draw that conclusion. In fact, J. Krishnamurti is often looked at as a cynical thinker. To be frank, I too thought of him like that in the 80s because he seemed to come down on everything under the sun. He made mockery of education, of marriage, of any achievement in the world. It appeared that this Krishnamurti is going around with a sledgehammer and beating up everything. And those days, I myself was quite a bit caught up in some ideals. If he said something about idol worship, I would react. Oh, he doesn't know why we worship idols. So we would go on the defensive. I must also share with you. In the 80s, when I tried to read one of his books, I always was very curious. And finally, over 15 or 20 years, I began to understand him, and I'm so happy. But those days, I tried to read, and my mind was defending something which he was trying to criticize. And then I read a sentence in the next paragraph. Krishnaji begins saying, "Don't be defensive." I got even more angry. On one hand, he is beating me up, and when I am trying to defend, he says, "Don't defend." What kind of thinker is he? But slowly, as I mellowed down, as my hang ups and hangovers, etc., reduced, I could see objectively the deep truths that he conveyed. Okay, maybe I forgot the point which made me make these submissions. Image free consciousness. What under the sun is this image free consciousness? It is one thing that something unpleasant happened in 2014. It's also one thing that in 2008 maybe I was honored and treated very well in some other place. And it's okay if we remember, but why are we caught? Why are we in the clutches of memories? And memories necessarily mean images. Those images come up and we relive those happy or sad moments. And in the process, the self in us, the ego in us, gets a fresh lease of life. The ego is a bundle of memories. One memory where I was honored makes me feel on top of the world. Another memory where everybody left me and went away makes me feel so small. But the truth of the present moment is I am neither big nor small. I am. And Nisargadatta of Mumbai used to say, be with I am. Generally, we are with I am good or I am bad. I am successful. I am a failure. I am loved by many. Another time, nobody wants me nowadays. Generally, we add something after I am. Nisargadatta asked us, can you stay with just I am, period? As they say in USA, period. In India, we say I am, full stop. I am, full stop. We are so eager to add. Even as I give a talk like this, my old habits say to me, yeah, you are speaking well today. And my mind says, I'm a good speaker. Nisargadatta says, Chidananda, can you remove that good speaker, bad speaker, foolish speaker, immature speaker, excellent speaker? Remove all that. Can you stay with I am? And we feel it is so boring. What is there in I am? So that King Ozymandias wanted to be remembered forever. He got a statue made and installed, maybe on a high place, high pedestal. Got those words written, here stands King Ozymandias, all-time great. And His fame will his fame will be till the sun and moon stay in the sky. All that he got written, but nobody knows who he was. So when we see that clinging to memories is an immature affair, if something needs to be done, do it, but don't go on revisiting memories. Flight of the eagle. What is the significance of such an expression? The eagle flies through the sky and no marks are left. You and I, one morning, go by Chowpatty beach, let us say, early morning before crowds gather. We hold our shoes in hands, maybe, walk on the sands, Juhu beach, everywhere where there is soft sand. We look back, we leave footprints. Interestingly, in much of literature, leaving footprints is a complimentary expression. In high school, I learned Longfellow's poem. I know very little of English poetry, for that matter, very little of English literature. But a little bit which I learned is with me, stays with me in that very popular poem of the olden days, A Psalm of Life. Longfellow, the American poet, uses that expression, leaving footprints on the sands of time. I don't remember the whole poem, but I can share with you that particular verse. Lives of great men do remind us we can make our life sublime and departing leave behind us footprints on the sands of time. Wow. All this is gloriously quoted. And we reading that, yeah, I want to live such a life. I want to leave behind footprints on the sands of time. Generations to come will remember me. They will say that this was the lady, this was the man who did something which no one else could do. I want to be like that. I want to be known for centuries to come. Wait a minute. Wonderful. This positive energy many times fills us with energy, fills us with looking forward to something. Of course, we don't deny rather than being laid back and crying and not getting up to lift even a blade of grass. Relatively, somebody who is up and active is appreciated. But we are talking of total freedom. Is your excitement today the forerunner of your depression tomorrow? You swing from one end to the other end of the pendulum. One day you feel, oh, I am going to change this world. And another day, I think I am such a burden on the earth, I better die. Why do you want to swing from one end to another end like a pendulum? Life has its vicissitudes, changes. Anyhow, you also change, everything changes. But can you watch it all? And in a manner of saying, can you stand in a manner of saying, don't take it literally. There's no need to stand anywhere, go with the flow. But in a manner of saying, can you stand on the stable platform of what Michael Singer would call the witnessing consciousness? In the Vedanta, they talk about witnessing consciousness, Sakshi, and so on. Krishnaji, as we know, avoided any such concept. He just said, be aware. Don't try to create a concept of something that is aware, some higher self, etc. He abhorred that language. That's a different topic. The flight of the eagle thus represents a state of being where one is not at all attached to one's own image. One is not interested in leaving behind a legacy. If it happens, that's a different matter. One is not against becoming well known either. But one doesn't seek to be well known. And one doesn't regret about having failed in one's attempt to be popular. Suppose somebody and you both were working at the same defense labs. Now, in the context of Indo-Pak war, some scientists of defense labs are in the news. Such and such scientist made in India the tracking, you track enemy missiles and hit it in the sky before it lands or before it throws a bomb anywhere. So if you are one of the scientists who also had worked a lot, but nobody is thinking of you, all are talking about your colleague who actually took ideas from you, and now he is so famous, he is going to be given Padma Shri or Padma Bhushan, and you also worked, but you are not in news at all. Does it pinch you? The flight of the eagle is a state of consciousness or state of being, whatever you call, where nothing pinches you. You smile. You just laugh. Or if you are honored with Padma Bhushan because you, in India, without importing it, you made in defense labs some system which tracks the enemy missile coming towards your country and destroys it before any harm is done to your country. And your name is in the newspapers, in the media, and the local organizations are all set to felicitate you, honor you. You are invited everywhere, etc. And your spouse is so happy, your children are proud. So, the flight of the eagle is if that happens, you are aware of it. And you, for civil behavior, you thank people who come and congratulate you. But if it doesn't happen, you are spending the day with as much energy, peace, love as possible. So, some of the deep questions of life arise here. In order to live happily, with certain enthusiasm, with some vigor, do we need this dream of becoming somebody? Or do we need to, is it okay to regret that you did not become somebody and someone else became somebody? Someone else became so popular, everybody is talking about him. I am much more worthy, much more gifted, much more talented. My contributions have been more, but nobody talks about me. Well, without going long on it, these are the footprints. These are the marks. It is said a wise person's state of being is like a pot with a crack. The pot with a crack doesn't get filled up at all. Pour water. Pour as much water as you like. The water leaks away. The pot remains empty. The flight of the eagle is like the cracked pot. You are honored, no pride in your consciousness. You were ignored, no hurt in your consciousness. So this needs to be understood very carefully. That doesn't mean that you are dumb or you have lost any sensitivity. As regards transactional world, if somebody is not only insulting you but obstructing your work, then you do whatever can be done. Because you are interested in doing some meaningful work. You are growing a garden, let us say, behind your house. in your own property, and the neighbor throws some dirt, some trash into your compound. We are not saying flight of the eagle means you have a very clear consciousness. Let neighbors do whatever they want. I remain free of hurt. No, no, no. Please don't mix lack of common sense with spiritual wisdom. You address it. You address that. You tell the neighbor, or if necessary, tell the police. Do some action. But this is a very delicate affair. Psychologically, you do not let any opinion, any image. So, image free consciousness is coming upon a certain silent, alert awareness where images of the past do not strike roots, and extending it, some anxiety about future also is no different. We are becoming anxious about future. Even in the so-called spirituality, sometimes people become anxious. Oh, I am already 74 and maybe I have at the most 8 years left. And will I get enlightened at all? Enlightenment becomes another goal. While they know they have read enough, some of them have spoken enough, have written articles on it. That enlighten is not another flag that you put on Mount Everest or some hill. Enlightenment is not an achievement. Enlightenment is when you are no more chasing any achievement. You don't want to put any more feathers on your cap. Enlightenment is just be, just be and see. So, what applies to regrets of the past easily, without much alteration or without any alteration, applies to anxiety for the future. It is thus that the illustration, the flight of the eagle, is talked about. The eagle doesn't leave marks on the sky, call it footprints, or birds have wings, wing prints, if you want. The fish do not leave marks in water when they swim, but the human mind, thanks to the complex psychology, is all the time burdened by images, memories, which again and again rebuild pictures of how good we are, how bad we are, how successful we have been, or what if unfortunate person I have been failing at everything that I touch. There is something called Midas touch. Whatever you touch turns into gold. Some people pronounce Midas touch. I think I am yet to know the correct pronunciation. I call it Midas touch. So then there are, expressions, where whatever you touch turns to ash. So you label yourself. I don't have the Midas touch. Whatever I touch turns to ash, or the other way around. We envy somebody, whatever he takes up is a glorious success. And we pity somebody else who has been failing again and again. Be aware of those movements of the mind. You will find that a whole lot of it is wastage of energy. You want to learn something from certain event, learn the lesson and move on. We have to learn. Let me say that and conclude. Just before this lecture, I was discussing with two friends something about the orderly society of Japan, how punctual they are, how disciplined they are. Oh, suppose there is a queue, there is a line, everybody cooperates. Nobody breaks the line. Nobody makes a second line and then the fight between two lines. So in hundreds of scenarios, the Japanese have succeeded in certain order in the society, which may not be the highest kind of order, but necessary for transactional purposes. And if we need to learn from it, who doesn't want to be punctual? Who doesn't want to, you know, behave in such a way that there is no confusion, conflict, chaos? We don't want chaos in daily life, in social life. So we may learn so many things. Learning is different, but accumulating images, standing at a, what is that called? Bullet train station in Japan, if you become sad, when will we Indians become disciplined like this? Wait a minute. If you are comparing, if you are labeling Indians and you are labeling Japanese as superior human beings or Indians as inferior, all that has serious limitations. Be aware. Okay, you want to improve in some area, do it. But for heaven's sake, don't label others. They have their problems. Don't label yourself. You have your strengths. Everybody under the sun, everybody in this world has strengths and shortcomings. And those strengths and shortcomings are relevant in a certain context. Otherwise, what strength, what shortcoming? Life is a movement where you and I learn and grow and one day breathe our last. So there is certain way of seeing things which are not escapist views. First, they may come across as escapism. All this philosophy is escape, escaping from realities of life. Come on. Ever since my son started reading J. Krishnamurti, he is not interested in anything. Some parents complain. they have their problem. The son or daughter may have some problem, but they go to a sweeping conclusion. I want my son, he's only 33. I want him to be ambitious and have a dash, etc. You want your son to be like that, but you don't know the problems that come with ambition. You don't know the problems. Maybe by reading Krishnaji, he seems to be a little withdrawn. Maybe he is solving some fundamental problem while disappointing you in terms of your dreams for your son to be something, somebody, and so on. Yeah, he's disappointing you. But who knows? Something is churning inside him, and who knows? He may be a happy person and he may exude some peace. Others may also pick up. Siddhartha's father was deeply disappointed when Siddhartha walked away, but Siddhartha later, as Buddha, brought peace to countless people. Thank you, friends. Let me pause here.
Harshad sir.
Okay. Are you able to hear?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Swamiji. You have very gently you have spoken, given examples, and the title of this topic, The Flight of the Eagle, that interests me very much. because that was the first book I came across when in 1972, when I was at Iowa State, and I had just started my PhD, and I was passing by the university bookshop, and I saw this book of Krishnamurti through the window. It was on display, and I did not know who was Krishnamurti and what he was saying, but I liked the photograph on the on the book, and the title I liked. So I bought that book, and when I started reading, I found it very, very interesting. And he was saying many things which I was feeling within myself. And what Krishnaji was saying, that humanity is suffering from so many problems of psychological nature, like fear or anger, loneliness. And I was feeling quite lonely in a different culture. And then Krishnamurti said, "This is not your problem, it is the problem of humanity. All human beings suffer." And so when I read that, I said, "Oh, I am not the only one who is like this." I begin to observe not only within myself, but around me also. And I found that Americans in their own country, they were feeling lonely, having no relationship in the family, and so on. Okay, so I will not go into it much, but what attracted me most in this book is that Krishnaji said that our problems come from thinking, and from thinking comes this sense of I or me, and then that I or me, which comes from thinking, it wants to change thought, and we say, I like it, I don't like it, and so on. So there's a conflict start in between the thinker and the thought. And so this was something very new to me. And I said, how can I verify what Krishnaji is saying? So if a person who wants to verify what Krishnaji is saying, one has to go right at the source from where thinking arises, because our problems arise from thinking. And to go right at the source from where thinking arises, we have to be extremely alert, silent, attentive to watch. And that requires energy, curiosity, all this quality. And so I had an office. I used to sit quietly to, with all my attention, trying to catch the beginning of a thought. And in that state, my thinking really stopped. But there was a state, a different state, what Krishnaji would call pure awareness, in which thoughts do not exist. And so it was such a beautiful feeling. And then I verified and say, yes, when there is no thinking, there are no problems. There is only pure awareness. And in that awareness, we can see everything clearly. We can listen clearly without this interfering. Because our seeing and listening, these two things, senses, are not pure. Our looking, when we look at a tree or a human being, we are just looking casually, and our mind is thinking something else, or some knowledge which we have acquired about a person that comes in between. So our looking is very dull. And my looking was like that before I read Krishnamurti, but when I became very interested in watching this beginning of a thought, and my mind used to slow down, and then some changes started happening in my body, my brain, and then everything looked so beautiful, so fresh, so new. And our campus was really beautiful. Iowa State, we had a lake and the swan going very gently, and there are beautiful trees with different colors in autumn. So what Krishnaji is saying, like the flight of the eagle, and what Krishnaji says, the eagle does not leave a mark. The scientist does, he says. So Krishnaji in that sentence is comparing a scientist with a mystic. A mystic means an enlightened spiritual person who lives in the present and who is fully alive to what is happening around and also what is happening within oneself. So an eagle really flies very beautifully if you have seen, very effortlessly. So eagle uh, flies effortlessly, and similarly a spiritual person, a mystic, lives effortlessly. Means he does everything, lives in the present moment, looks at everything very fresh, new, and fully energetic, and mind is very silent, and at the same time, it can learn many whatever needs to be learned, lives in the daily life with silent uh, attention. So, um, yes, Krishna, Swamiji said about a king who erected a statue in the desert. Similarly, it reminds me of a king who was a Chakravarti king who had conquered most of the land in his country. And then he goes to heaven and he was asked to write his name on a mountain which was as big as the Himalayas, and he had to write his name on that mountain because he did something very great. And when he went to write his name on that mountain, he saw so many names. The mountain was filled with names of previous Chakravarti king, and there was no space left. So there are so many great people have come before us, and many people will come after us. So we are nothing. We just live, and that is the real beauty of not thinking about the future, not about the past, what somebody said, something unpleasant, but living in the present. So uh, this image free life, and that is the real freedom. Um, we say that India is a free country, democratic country, but Krishnaji was talking about a different kind of freedom, a freedom in the mind, because as long as we are suffering from many problems, fear, anger, jealousy, loneliness, all that problem takes away the energy to live in the present moment and to live like a eagle is a real blessing. And then it doesn't matter whether somebody praises you or criticizes you, but you live without thinking about what other people are talking about you. They may be talking, making, criticizing you. They may say, "Oh, he's very proud," or somebody say, "No, no, he is very good." So all this opinion of the people can vary, but a person who is very clear is not bothered. He lives and speaks exactly what he feels. There is no conflict in such a person. between what he is saying and how he lives. And so this title I liked very much, The Flight of the Eagle, and Krishnaji was like that eagle. And the scientist leaves a mark. It means the scientist makes many assumptions in when the scientist is doing the research. And I was a scientist, and to make some theory, I had to make many assumptions in my theory. And I've always felt that the work what I was doing as a scientist was not truth. It was half truth. And so many scientists are doing that kind of work, and they get the name, they get money for that. But I felt that what Krishnamurti is saying is much, much interesting, and to live that way. And so I was very fortunate to talk with Krishnaji, listen to him, and teach in his schools for many, many years, and meet many, many people. So I thank Krishnaji for opening up a new way of living in my life. So thank you very much.
Pradeep sir.
Yes, sir. Am I audible?
Yes.
Pradeep sir.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, friends. Thank you very much. The topic is, as usual, very, very interesting in the sense to communicate imageless consciousness. Right in the beginning, we are using images. You see, the book itself, when I read Flight of the Eagle, so this Flight of the Eagle, that became the main thing for me. You see, to start with, what do we know how eagle's flight is instinctive, or what we want to convey through this image of eagle, and to communicate imageless consciousness, we are using invariably images: tiger chasing tiger, you see, and eagle, flight of the eagle, then Lotus Sutra, then River Sutra. These are all images. Metaphors have been regularly used. So, in a way, what I feel is images are strong communicators. In the sense, of course, not everybody will understand what do they want to communicate through this image, starting from the other this thing, the other end. So every time we are using images. So images are important, definitely, but what he is trying to say, freedom from the past. Although we don't know, without, you see, flight of the eagle is instinctive, without seeing everything, and ultimately the moment it gets what it tries, rather it is for that flight, instinctively all other images vanish, and only then it will strike to that prey. Likewise, without images, it is very hard to imagine our life. But I think the message is attentive, be attentive. Although attention itself, the present itself, when you say it is all the time, the moment, each moment, to moment. So how fast that moment becomes another movement, and Sakshi or whatever observer, everything, if you say, you may not get attached to certain images, and better it is if you don't attach yourself to the image that has gone by. and you are obsessed with that, then definitely it affects. But the main message is to be attentive, to be attentive. I cannot use that word present moment also, because all these things, when these things, everything is in my mind when I read, when I try to, मनन करने के बाद ये लगता है, exactly what does it mean? Everything is changing so fast. So images to me have a definite role, and we all are using, especially the seers. They see something and then they use that to convey something beyond words. Word is not the thing, he has made it very clear, we know it. But the image is definitely a little better than the words. It tells you holistically, it tells you a lot more than the word itself. This is what I feel, what I imagine. I love images, but I don't retain them, fortunately. And that is good for me also. Otherwise, the freshness, the energy will will be depleted in these things. So this is what I think is uh, mm, in this. So regularly, I'll be happy if Swamiji says something about the importance of images and how frequently we use these metaphors, very frequently, to convey something beyond words. Thank you very much. Thank you, friends. This is all I wanted to share right now. Let others tell their views about this.
Yeah, let me answer that about these images. The word image has perhaps many meanings, but two meanings we are now using here. One is, as it was said, image of the eagle in flight, image of the lotus sutras, the picture of the lotus flower comes in our mind. In all philosophies, we have various images. Two birds on the same tree is an image in the Upanishads. Then you have this rope appearing as the snake. So that's one meaning of images. But in my understanding, this image free consciousness is related to another meaning of image, that is, evaluation of others or ourselves. I see somebody with lot of money, I begin to envy her. Oh my, how rich she is. I can nowhere come near her. So I create an image of as though because she has money, she is totally fulfilled, which is not true. Likewise about myself also. Suppose I sing a song to an audience of 1,000 people and they stand up and give an applause at the end of my singing. I develop an image of, I am so accomplished. I wish my parents were alive. They would have been happy at my performance. I am such a great person. So the image of self-judgment, as they say, on a scale of 10, I say, I am now at 8, very soon I will reach 9. And most of these fellows here, they are just at 4 or 5 or 3 or 2. Haha. So either self-judgment putting us way above others, or some self-judgment putting us way below others. That's another kind of image. And essentially, this topic, image-free consciousness, is freedom from those immature, half-baked judgments of others or ourselves, even collectively also, to say Americans are like this and Japanese are like that and so on. All of them have a lot of limitations. There may be a grain of truth in what you say, but to judge others or to judge ourselves and freeze that judgment, that is a painful thing. So the first one is very much so. To convey something in communication, if you use some image, some illustration, Whenever I create PowerPoint slides nowadays, I'm an 11th hour person to prepare. Last moment, I want to explain forgiveness, one slide. Quickly, I go to Google Images, forgiveness, and it gives hundreds of pictures. So I drag one picture and put it along with forgiveness, some image. And my audiences like it. Swamiji, that PowerPoint was very nice, and so on. The images are good tools in communicating, but that's different. This image is judgmentalism, so to say. When you and I live in judgmentalism, judgment is necessary in transactions, but judgmentalism is clinging to opinions about people, about persons. And finally, let me end my submission with this. There is a famous saying, those who kill by the sword die by the sword. So you judge everybody in the town, he is good, she is bad, etc. Then one day you are so morose, early morning with coffee in hand, you feel so low. What's happening is you are judging everybody. That morning with hot coffee in hand, you are judging yourself as utterly unpopular and this and that. That makes you very sad. So this judgmentalism is the image in the present context, according to my understanding. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Dinesh,
Are you able to hear me, sir? Is it clear?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, I think most of the points have been covered by Swamiji and Harshad sir, and some of the points are also covered by Pradeep. My views are the teachings in the Flight of Eagle also had central point is thought. If the observation is with thought, as JK said, then it can be used for scientific observation with known aspect. If perception is without thought, then it covers unknown aspect manifested in the moment. In question of freedom, both aspects are to be considered and are necessary. So, if you are talking holistically or totality, both aspects you have to consider. It also means verbal explanation and non-verbal perception. Now, for inquiry, thought should be free from prejudice, conclusions, concepts, ideas, so that you can observe what is. Now, one can also see that fear, etc., and other things. Why I am jumping? Because we have been talking on thought and on things so many times. So I am jumping on something and direct talking on some points. Now one can also see that fear, etc., arises through the structure of thought. It also means thought breeds pleasure and pain both, whereas bliss is not pleasure. So bliss is not pleasure. So we can get the idea of eagle sitting at the topmost branch. Whereas bliss is not pleasure, ecstasy is not brought about by thought. Then thought also divides fragments and thereby creates conflicts, etc. So one has to understand structure of thought and not to resist the life, nor escape from issues of life. It is difficult for some to accept the pain as such and not to resist it. But whatever he said is this. Let us now compare. He has also done the comparison of eagle with parrot. The parrot's flight is never smooth, but always reckless, noisy, and brilliant. They never flew straight like other birds, but were forever veering off to the left or right. or suddenly dropping into a tree. They were the most restless birds in flight. The flights away from suffering, uh, in our case, like fear. Whereas eagle's specialty is it remains very still. Normally, it sits on the topmost branch of the tree, preening itself. Preening itself means he is cleaning all the time, so that we can see that other places he has talked about the die in every moment. Preening itself and watching all the play that was going on down below. Flight of eagle that leaves no mark in the air. Also, I have considered a dictionary. Dictionary says the beauty of eagle flight lies in its power, grace, and freedom. Eagles soar high above the clouds, riding thermal currents to conserve energy and main altitude. Their large wings spans and slotted wing uh, tips help them lift heavy loads and navigate the air with incredible efficiency. This allows them to clean uh, quickly and glide effortlessly, creating a visual, stunning display of nature's strength and beauty. So here we can, I think, we can see that wherever other places JK has said that your inner about inner orders. So inner order also we have to consider. Whenever you will die to the present and all that, and your thought, you have understood the structure of thought, then probably you can clean your mind with the efficiency, just like the eagle, and remain at the top. When he talks of eagle sits at the height, I think indirectly he is giving indication that there is some dimension which is above everything. Now, however, although this point has been covered by the others, it is interesting to note that JK said that one has to be free from images, but he has used eagle as image or ideal. So, other places also, he has said that word is not the thing and etc. The description is not described. But then he sends in front of you a web of words. So he uses the web of words. So one has to understand that what game is going on and how to come out from it and consider the right things. That's what I think. And my experience, as far as images are concerned, my experience is with meditation, etc., one can be free from senses data and words, etc. Because thought is also made up of words as well as images. So image we can consider, other places in tradition it has been used as light and sound. Those two things have been used. In tantric tradition, they have used light as a main source, which has been now gone. But still some symbols are there, like Shri and Swastik and all that. But they used so many symbols in it. And when we say symbol means, it covers many aspects and things in a very short description. So, but this image, what etc. of thought, but image in diluted form remains of critical incidences of life. We see the main point is, as Swamiji said, there are so many past issues, past heart incidences and all that, out of which you may may be free from the thought may be free from words, etc. But this image remains in diluted form because that is the base of the memory. So, one, if suppose a person uh, forgets this memory, then I think the total structure of his life or movement in the life will be hampered. That's what I feel. Thank you. Swamiji, any comments?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well said. Though you began saying Swamiji and Harshadji and Pradeepji and all have covered pretty much everything, I must say you added very valuable points to the whole matter. You gave your own perspective, and especially you talked about how so many episodes of our life leave behind some impressions, and it's so a mighty challenge to be free of various impressions. Therefore, it is said at any point of life, we are all, they use the Sanskrit word, we are all the accumulation of sanskars. Sanskar is another word used for those impressions in the mind, conscious or unconscious, wherever. So, traditional religions talk about good sanskars to be put into children. It doesn't stop with childhood. Even we adults, we old people, go on uh, enriching ourselves with good sanskars. You participate in a discussion like this. That itself is a wonderful sanskar. Some new lines of thinking, some new angles of view emerge. In fact, I have read that statement. Scientists, you know, leave marks behind. I never understood it, but today that word assumption used by Harshadji gave me a new insight. I tend to use the word image or footprints and marks, etc., more of the self judgment. But yes, it's very nice to know that the tendency or the habit, I must say, of scientists to assume. So they work definitely, they don't work with total freedom. They also work with a frame of reference which has certain assumptions. So long back, people worked in the Newtonian frame of reference. Now they may work in the frame of reference of Einsteinian or Max Planck's quantum physics, whichever it is. But there is always a frame of reference. And somebody wants to talk about some topic from another angle of view, they may not welcome that. You know, this debate arises sometimes between cultures too. The Western culture goes about with certain assumptions. The Eastern culture goes about with certain assumptions, religious or other also. So, is it possible to be free of any assumptions? Is a question hard to answer. So, I think I have generally responded to your submissions. If you have something specific where you wanted my response, kindly let me know, Dineshji.
Why he has used this eagle?
Yeah, actually,
Because
any bird. Yeah, I think for me, eagle has a certain majesty, right? Therefore, the illustration gathers a little bit of magnificence. You know, we can talk about flight of a sparrow. The sparrow also doesn't leave any marks in the sky. So any bird for that matter, any fish. In the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, they talk about a Mahamatsya, a huge fish going on a river, I guess, touching sometimes the left bank, touching sometimes the right bank. I should revisit that chapter, that Mahamatsya, a big fish. I think it's described there. So why big fish? Talk about a small fish, but that Mahamatsya brings a grandeur. And as Pradeep ji had commented, images like that have a certain power in them to communicate. Therefore, eagle is not unduly important. The eagle just brings a sense of grandeur. Uh, Sometimes they use the word vulture. The moment you use the vulture, there is a little bit sense of how it, comes to, it descends and picks up something and flies away. A little cruelty, a little attacking nature. Vultures has the word. Eagle, I guess, doesn't have, though eagles also do that. The eagle's movement very smoothly, it moves, hardly moving its wings. But at the same time, I suppose it has high speed, and eagle's eyes, I guess, are very sharp. They can see something on the ground in spite of being at a great height. So that's about it, I think. Eagle has some extra poetic grandeur too.
Thank you.
Prasad sir.
Prasad Garu has been waiting, I guess. Modakji.
Sir, sir,
Prasad ji, please speak.
sir, I just wanted to refer to your poem, Ozymandias of Egypt. There, it is written on the pedestal, my name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. So this is what is written there. That is, I am the King of Kings, and nobody can come anywhere near me. And you look on my works and you despair because you can never compete with me. But then he lies in the sands, and the sculptor has caught the feelings of that guy, that king. His wrinkled lip and the sneer of cold command. That is his face itself shows his ego. Wrinkled lip and the sneer of cold command. The sculptor has caught those feelings well. Anyway, that is, by the way, Swamiji has already referred to that. But I want to refer to another book which deals with flight of a bird. It's called Jonathan Livingston Seagull, a story. And there we are taking eagle as a specimen which embodies certain qualities. But here you see, in this book, this is seagull. Here it is not the eagle, but seagull. This is another word. And what other birds, other seagulls are occupied with, there's one thing. And what this special seagull, Jonathan, he is different. This bird is different from other seagulls. Most girls don't bother to learn more than the simplest facts of flight. How to get from shore to food and back again. They are worried only about their food. For most girls, it is not flying that matters, but eating. So for most girls, what matters is only eating. For this girl, though, it was not eating that mattered, but flight. This is interested in flight. More than anything else, Jonathan Livingston Seagull loved to fly. So we are the normal seagulls. We are all normal seagulls. Somebody like Krishnamurti is a Jonathan Seagull. He loved to flight. That is it. And maybe in different levels, smaller words are there and all that. So, but this kind of thinking, he found is not the way to make oneself popular with other birds. If you are thinking like Jonathan, you are not popular. Even his parents were dismayed as Jonathan spent whole days alone, making hundreds of low-level glides, experimenting. He was experimenting. He was observing himself, let us say. And even his parents were worried. Why are you not like I was seeing some video, some scientist. He says his mother was worried. He said, his mother said, why is not my son like other sons? Why is he not interested in cricket? Why is he not interested in getting a good job and all that? That is it. And so far as this topic is concerned, I entirely think it deals with the freedom of image-free consciousness. The freedom of image-free consciousness. I think that is basically what Swamiji has said, judgmentalism. We are all judgmentalists. We have judgments about everybody and every nation, every sect, every tribe, like that. So, not simply at the individual level, but at a collective level, we have images. Image here is used, I think, in the sense of that. But then, for me, flight of the eagle is not simply being free of images. It is not simply that.
My tablets.
It
After 10
means
minutes, something I can.
freedom
Books or something.
from luggage.
Yeah.
You must have a consciousness that is free of luggage. What are the luggage? We have so much luggage. Apart from images. Images from the past definitely is a luggage. Apart from that, we have so many other things like envy, jealousy, greed, ambition, power mongering. We have all these things. So, when your consciousness is free of all this luggage, then you have the flight of the eagle or the flight of Jonathan the seagull. Thank you, sir.
Harshad sir.
Yeah. Yes. Spiritual teachers like Buddha, they use some metaphor. It can be called images, like Buddha said that if you want to go from this shore of the river to the other shore, you need a boat. And after you reach the other shore, you don't carry the boat with you. It is just for crossing the river. Similarly, Buddha said the teachings are for you to go from suffering to freedom. But after that, you don't carry all that knowledge of the teachings. And same thing with Krishnamurti, that we don't need to carry the knowledge which we have gathered from Krishnamurti and repeat it, then it loses the whole purpose. And similarly, Buddha pointed his finger at the moon and he said, look at the moon, not my finger. That means the finger is like the teaching and the moon is like the truth. So look directly at yourself and not look at the words of Krishnamurti or Buddha, but look at your own mind, which is so much to learn about our own self. Of course, we can read Krishnamurti, but if we keep on repeating his words, then quotation, it is all very second-hand. We have to really look at our own self and see directly. Teachings can help, but we have to look directly. And so the images are used by teachers to point out certain things. But we are talking about, Krishnamurti is talking about the images which we have about some experience in the past or some worries about the future, and those that take away the clear perception of what is happening. So, yes, I have finished my. Thank you.
Swamiji. Swamiji, do you want to say something?
Actually, I couldn't follow everything. If there is a specific issue where you want me to say something, I can respond.
Harshad sir has said that
Huh.
images are required to communicate the teachings, but they are not to be carried further and
Right.
kept as such. So, if you want to comment.
Correct. Of course. Yeah, I would endorse that view. We must know for what purpose the image is given, the illustration, and not get stuck at it, not get stuck with it in any way. You know, I have a joke about it. One husband said to his wife when they visited Taj Mahal in Agra, he said to his wife, that whenever I see your face, I think of this Taj Mahal. He meant actually to convey that there is some pleasantness about her. But she, I believe, in this joke, slapped him on the cheek and said, "Don't compare me with Taj Mahal. Do I have four minars on my head?" So that's another way in which you take a illustration a bit wrongly and stick to it so much. In Advaita Vedanta, the rope and snake examples are given, and Dvaita Vedanta criticizes Advaita, saying, hey, if you are seeing a snake upon a rope, then there must be a real snake somewhere which you had seen. Therefore, you are able to see a snake upon the rope. This is also an unnecessary extension. Therefore, they say, only if you have seen a snake somewhere, then you mistake this rope this evening in dim light to be a snake. Therefore, this if to say this whole world is an illusion, there must be a real world. This is like stretching the example. Shankaracharya, when he talks about snake upon a rope, he is only saying in a limited sense, there is a problem with your perception. You are not seeing as it is. You are seeing it with the coloring from your side. Therefore, I very much go with that comment by Harshadji that images are wonderful tools. We should not be limited by them, though. We should see the moon and not be caught with the finger. Nor should we play with the images. Why not finger be the truth and moon be the tool? That kind of playing is will not take us anywhere. We must understand how that is used and then move further. Thank you.
थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Yeah.
उकाब बोलते हैं शायद उर्दू में उसको, ईगल को उकाब
क्या
बोलते
बोलते
हैं।
हैं?
उकाब,
बाज बाज
उकाब,
नहीं
UKAB, उकाब। बाज भी बोलते हैं, गरुड़ भी बोलते हैं, ईगल भी बोलते हैं। और उर्दू में इकबाल का शेर है जो बहुत मीनिंगफुल है।
उकाब
हे उकाब, उस रज्क, उस रिज्क से मौत भली। रिज्क मीन्स दाना। हे उकाब, उस रिज्क से मौत भली जिससे आती हो तेरे परवाज में कोताही। अगर
क्या बात।
बाज तेरी उड़ान में कोई कमी आती हो तो वो दाना मत खाना तू कभी, क्योंकि वो तेरी आत्मा को गिराएगा।
वेरी नाइस, वेरी नाइस।
थैंक यू।
थैंक यू।
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Thank you.